Liam Parker sat on a ripped couch that sagged in the middle, an old blanket wrapped tightly around his shoulders. Outside the window, the city buzzed like it always did, cars honking, sirens wailing, people living. But in here, in their tiny, one-room apartment, time moved slower. The air was heavy. The refrigerator hadn't worked in weeks. The heat came and went, and the silence felt like it was always waiting to say something he didn't want to hear. He looked over at the corner, where his mum's work shoes still sat, cracked and worn. She hadn't worn them in months. Mrs. Parker had always been the type to put everyone else first. Kids at school, neighbors in the building, and of course, Liam. But now, the sickness was taking her voice, her energy, and worst of all, her smile. He pulled out the small, crumpled flyer from his backpack for the 10th time that week. Starburn Talent Search, open to all ages. Grand prize $50,000 and national tour. Local auditions. This Saturday. He hadn't told her he signed up. She'd say no. She'd say he should focus on school, not dreams. But this wasn't a dream anymore. It was the only option left. The rent was overdue, her medication wasn't fully covered. The hospital bills were stacking like a tower built just to crush them. He didn't have stage clothes or a fancy song, but he had a voice. And more than that, he had purpose. That Friday night, as his mum slept with an oxygen mask on her face, he left her a note next to her bedside. "Don't worry, I'll be back before lunch. Please don't get up, I love you. Liam." The local auditorium was bigger than he expected. Glittering banners, camera crews, and a crowd of over 100 contestants buzzed around. Most were older, taller, flashier. Girls in sequined dresses, boys with guitars, dancers with glitter on their cheeks. Liam stood in the far corner, tugging at his too small hoodie and faded jeans, hugging the microphone they had handed him like a lifeline. When the stage manager called, "Contestant number 43, Liam Parker," he nearly dropped the mic. He stepped toward the curtains, blinking hard to keep tears back. For some reason, the world felt louder here and lonelier too. The crowd quieted as he stepped out. The lights hit him like a slap. He squinted, trying to find the microphone stand. But what caught him off guard was the judges' table. 3 judges sat there, half-shadowed by the brightness. A woman with a striking silver bob and sharp red lipstick. A man wearing a gold glitter blazer who already looked bored. And the last judge, quiet, composed, hands clasped in front of his face. Derek Miles. Liam didn't recognize the name, but there was something unsettling about the man's expression. Calm, but wounded. Watching Liam a little too closely. The other judges seemed distracted, checking papers, sipping water. Derek just stared, not in a creepy way, in a way that felt familiar. But Liam didn't have time to think about that now. He stepped to the center. The mic was cold in his hands. "Whenever you're ready," said the woman judge, already clicking. Her pen. He took a breath. Then another, and he sang. No music, no backing track. Just his voice. Raw, honest. The same lullaby his mom used to hum when the power went out during storms. The song she'd whisper into his ear when his dad didn't. Come Home. A tune built on hope, stitched with pain. Liam poured everything into it. Not for the crowd, not for the judges, for her. Every note was for his mom, for all the times he heard her cry in the next room, for every smile she faked so he wouldn't worry, for every pill she took without flinching. Halfway through, the crowd stopped shifting. The judges weren't writing anymore. Something had shifted in the room. By the final verse, Liam's voice trembled, not from nerves, but from emotion. A tear slid down his cheek as he held the last note. Silence. Then clapping. First a soft clap from the woman judge, then a louder cheer from the glitter blazer man. And finally, Derek Miles leaned in, his lips slightly parted, his eyes wide. With disbelief. "That song," Derek said, his voice a raspy whisper. "Where did you learn that?" Liam blinked. "My mom, she used to sing it to me, every night." The crowd was listening now, hushed, caught in a tension they didn't understand. Derek slowly reached into his inner coat pocket and pulled out an old photo. He stared at it for a long second, then held it out, hands trembling. "This woman, your Mother, her name, is it Maria? Liam's knees nearly buckled, his voice cracked. How do you know her name? The silence after that was heavier than any stage light. Derek stood up, his face pale and stunned. Because she was the love of my life. We lost touch before you were born. And if I'm not wrong, Liam, I think I might be your father. Liam's world tilted. The stage blurred. The mic slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a thud. Liam didn't say anything. He couldn't. He just stood there, frozen, while hundreds of eyes stared at him. And the man at the judges' table, this stranger, stood with a photograph of his mom in his hand and a voice full of thunder and ghosts. I think I'm your father. The words rang in Liam's ears again and again, louder than the applause, louder than the hum of the lights. What was he even supposed to say to that? Backstage workers looked at each other awkwardly. The other two judges shifted uncomfortably, unsure if this was some sort of gimmick. The host leaned toward the microphone, clearly trying to salvage the moment. Well, that was quite the performance, and apparently quite the reunion too. Liam felt his legs moving before his mind even caught up. He turned and walked off stage, ignoring the confused whispers of the audience. He didn't run, didn't cry, just walked fast, gripping the sides of his hoodie like it was armor. A stagehand called after him, "Kid, you forgot your mic pass." He didn't stop. The green room door slammed shut behind him. He sat on a metal chair and stared at the floor, his heart hammering in his chest. The picture was still in his mind. His mom, young and happy, holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. Him, that was him, no denying it. But that man, that judge, that face, that name, Derek Miles. He'd heard it before, not from his mom, but in whispers, on TV maybe. A songwriter, a producer, someone big back in the 2000s. But why hadn't his mother ever mentioned him? He wiped his face, then looked up as the door creaked open. And there he was, Derek, now without the mic and the judge's poise, standing like a man unsure of what world he'd just walked into. "I'm sorry," Derek said softly. "I shouldn't have said it like that, not in front of everyone." Liam looked at him, anger rising behind his quiet. "Why now? Why here?" Derek sighed, stepping slowly inside and closing the door behind him. "I didn't know. Not until I saw your face, heard that song." Liam narrowed his eyes. "You expect me to believe that? You just happened to be judging the one contest I entered in my whole life, and suddenly you're my father." Derek walked over, sat down on the opposite chair, and rubbed his hands together nervously. "I loved your mother, Liam. We were together a long time ago. She got pregnant. I left for a music tour before I even knew. She never told me. I tried to reach her later, but by then she was gone. Moved, disconnected her number. I thought maybe she didn't want anything to do with me." Liam didn't know whether to believe him. His chest felt like it was being squeezed tight. "She was alone," Liam said. "She raised me alone, worked 2 jobs, taught me everything I know. She sang that song when I was sick, when we had no food, when we had no lights. And you were off writing music for rich people." Derek nodded, his expression full of shame. "You're right to be angry. I deserve that. I've made mistakes. But that song, I wrote it. For her. It was the last song we worked on together before I left." That hit Liam like a punch in the stomach. He whispered, "You wrote her song?" Derek nodded. "And I never released it. It was too personal, too painful." Liam looked away, silent for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "She's sick, real sick. I joined this contest because she needs treatment. That money is her last hope." Derek's jaw tightened. "Then you're going to get that help. I swear on everything I've got, you won't lose her." Liam turned back toward him, unsure whether he wanted to cry, scream, or believe. "You said you might be my dad," he said, voice low. "Are you going to find out, or just leave again?" Derek looked him in the eyes. "I'm not leaving this time. We'll get the test if you want. I'll talk to your mom. I just want to help, and I want to know you, if you'll let me." A knock came on the door. A staff member poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but the judges need to finalize votes for the showcase round. Liam, you're one of the top 3. They want you back out there for the group photo." Liam looked at Derek. His face, though aged and weary, had the same crooked smile Liam saw in the mirror sometimes. His eyes weren't lying, not this time. He stood up slowly. "Okay, but after this you come with me. I want you to talk to her." Derek nodded quickly, eyes wet. "Of course. Anything." As they walked back to the stage side by side, Liam didn't reach for his hand or say anything more. But deep inside, something had shifted. Not trust, not yet. But maybe a crack in the wall. The stage looked different this time, not because the lights were any dimmer or the crowd quieter, but because Liam was different now. Something inside him had cracked open, a wound he didn't even know was there. All this time he had built a world around the idea that his father was just a ghost, a rumor that his mom never spoke about, a man who walked away before he was even born. But now that ghost had a name, a face, and somehow a voice that trembled when he spoke Liam's name. He stood shoulder to shoulder with the two other finalists, both older teens. One was a girl with a glittery jumpsuit and a voice like thunder. The other was a beatboxer who had spun the crowd wild with his tricks. Liam felt like a shadow between them. Quiet, hoodie still zipped, hands tucked in the sleeves like he was trying to hide. The cameras flashed. The host smiled too wide, practically bouncing. "Let's give it up one more time for our three finalists. You'll see these rising. Stars again next week at the televised Starborn Showcase, where America gets to vote." The crowd cheered, but Liam was already somewhere else, his mind back at the hospital. He barely noticed when Derek walked quietly backstage, waiting like he said he would. The moment the show wrapped and the host moved on to closing remarks, Liam slipped away from the spotlight and joined him. Neither of them said a word as they walked outside to the parking lot. The city was colder now. Wind tugged at Liam's sleeves. Derek offered his coat, but Liam shook his head. "I'm used to it," he muttered. That hit harder than anything else Derek had heard. He didn't push. They took the subway together. Not many words passed between them, but every once in a while Derek would glance at Liam like trying to memorize his face, the curve of his nose, the way he bit his lip when nervous. Pieces of himself reflected back, too late, too far. They arrived at the hospital just past visiting hours, but the nurse at the desk recognized Liam and let them through. Room 207. That cold blue room with beeping machines and peeling wallpaper, that had become Liam's second home. His mum was awake but tired, eyes dull with fatigue but still managing a smile when she saw him walk in. "There you are," she whispered. "I was starting to worry." She stopped when she noticed the man behind him. Liam stepped aside. Derek didn't speak. He just looked at her for a moment like he was seeing a ghost too. "Maria," he said softly. Her eyes widened. "No," she whispered, voice catching in her throat. "Derek?" He nodded. She looked at Liam, then back at Derek. I didn't know you'd still be alive, let alone—" He stepped forward, hands up. "I didn't come to start anything, I swear. I was judging the talent show. Liam was there. He sang that song, our song. I didn't know. I had no idea." Maria closed her eyes and let the silence sit for a while. The only sound was the soft beeping of her heart monitor and the hum of distant footsteps outside. "You left," she said finally, not with bitterness, but quiet resignation. "I wrote you twice, got no answer, you disappeared. I was touring, drifting, I didn't handle things well," Derek admitted. "But when I came back, I looked for you. You were gone. And God, I should have tried harder." Liam stood at the corner of the room watching them talk like they were strangers and family at the same time. "I didn't tell Liam about you," Maria said, her voice shaky, "because I didn't want him to feel abandoned." Derek's eyes filled. "But," he was, "I abandoned both of you, even if I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, I can't take it back, but I want to fix what I can." There was a long pause. Then Maria reached out a trembling hand. "Sit," she said. He took her hand carefully and sat by the bed. Liam looked away, unsure if he should leave or cry or scream. The anger in him hadn't disappeared. It just felt lost now, tangled up in things he didn't understand. Derek finally turned to Liam. "I want to help. With her treatment. With your life, if you'll let me, and if—" We can do a DNA test, Liam interrupted coldly. Make it real. Or not. Derek nodded. Whenever you're ready. Maria looked at her son and smiled gently. Baby, I never wanted to hide the truth. I didn't want you to think someone could love you then leave. Liam swallowed. Hard. I never did, he whispered. The hospital felt colder than usual the next morning. Liam sat by his mum's bed, holding her hand while she drifted in and out of sleep. Her breaths were slow, sometimes shallow. The nurse had said her oxygen levels had dipped during the night, but they were stable now. For the moment. That phrase haunted him. Everything was for the moment. Her strength. Their money. Hope. He hadn't slept either. The events from the night before played on a loop in his head. That stage. The song. The judges' faces. Derek's voice saying, I think I'm your father. Even now, it sounded unreal. The DNA test was scheduled for the next day. Derek had set it up immediately. He hadn't asked questions, hadn't hesitated. Liam respected that, but respect didn't mean trust. Not yet. He looked over at his mom. Her cheeks looked thinner than last week. The way she smiled now, soft and tired, it was different than before. Like she was trying to convince him everything was okay, even when it obviously wasn't. He was about to speak when a gentle knock came at the door. Derek? Hey, he said quietly, holding a to-go tray with coffee and a sandwich. Thought you might need something. Liam took the coffee wordlessly. He hadn't eaten since the audition. Derek sat down on the other side of the bed, across from Liam. He looked at Maria with a strange kind of guilt in his eyes, deep and old like it had never healed. She always loved that song, Derek said softly. Even when we wrote it, she kept saying, it's not just a lullaby, it's a promise. Liam glanced at him. She never told me where it came from. She didn't have to, Derek replied. You sang it like you knew exactly what it meant. For a moment, Liam wanted to say something back, something cruel or clever or cutting, but all that came out was, I just didn't want her to die before she heard me sing it. Derek nodded slowly. She won't, not if I can help it. Liam tilted his head. You mean like, help? Or just more promises? Derek pulled out a folder and placed it on the table beside the bed. It was thick, paperwork, documents, something official. Liam opened it and scanned the first few pages. A treatment sponsorship, full coverage of medical expenses, a private physician referral, signed by Derek Miles. I may not be your father on paper yet, Derek said, but I'm not walking away from this. Not again, that's my name, that's my responsibility now. Liam looked up sharply. She won't take charity. It's not charity, it's debt. Derek's voice cracked a little. I owe her more than I can ever repay. There was a long pause. Maria stirred slightly, eyes fluttering open. She gave both of them a small, groggy smile. You two behaving? She teased faintly. Derek reached for her hand. Always. Liam stood and stepped outside for air. The hallway was quiet, but he still felt like it was spinning. People passed by, nurses, other patients, exhausted visitors. Everyone had their own crisis, their own heartbreak. And somehow he wasn't the only one anymore. His was tangled up in this man who showed up out of nowhere and claimed to be his blood. His phone buzzed, a message from the show producers. Congrats. Liam, you've made the final showcase. Next round is live broadcast, next Saturday night. Press day tomorrow. You're a fan favorite. He didn't even know how to respond. Not yet. A few minutes later, Derek joined him in the hallway, hands in his coat pockets. I heard from the producers too, Derek said. They want to do a segment about you, your story. Liam narrowed his eyes. What story? Yours. Your song. Your fight for your mom, it's real, that's why people love you. I didn't come here to be famous, Liam said. I just came to save her. Derek nodded. And now you've got a stage. A voice. You can use it for her, and maybe for yourself too. Liam didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. The cameras, the pressure, the way people suddenly cared. It felt like standing in the middle of a storm and everyone cheering while he was just trying not to drown. You think I'm good enough to win? He asked finally. Derek's voice was firm. I don't think. I know. And when you do, it won't be because of me. It'll be because of who you are." Liam looked up at him, really looked this time. And for the first time, he saw not just the man from the judge's table or the stranger with a past, but someone who might, just might, want to stay. By the time Liam arrived at the studio the next morning, the world already felt different. The receptionist at the talent show's headquarters recognized him immediately. "Oh, you're Liam Parker, right? The one who made everyone cry," she said, half laughing as she pointed toward the elevator. "They've got you scheduled for press, wardrobe, and a rehearsal slot this afternoon. Big things happening, huh?" Liam just nodded. He wasn't used to being seen, not like this. Not as a contestant or a voice or a story. He was used to being invisible. The quiet kid in the back of the class, the boy in worn sneakers who never raised his hand. But now, people were noticing. People were watching. And he wasn't sure how to feel about it. Inside the rehearsal hall, there were cameras, interview setups, stylists with racks of clothes, and producers everywhere barking orders into headsets. The place smelled like perfume and coffee and electricity. He almost turned around and walked out. Then he saw Derek, standing near the back, arms crossed, talking to a producer. He was dressed differently now, no more judge's blazer or showbiz face, just a dark hoodie and jeans. When he saw Liam, he smiled, and for once it didn't feel forced. Liam walked over. "You didn't have to come." Derek shrugged. "I wanted to. I told you, I'm not disappearing." A producer with shiny shoes and a clipboard rushed over. "Liam, okay, big segment planned. Very emotional arc. We want you to talk about your mom, your journey, the song, maybe even show some childhood. Photos, this could be huge." Liam blinked. "I don't really do interviews." "You'll be fine," she said, waving a hand. "We'll cut around anything awkward. Just be real, that's what people love right now. Raw, authentic stuff." The word stuff hit him wrong. His pain wasn't stuff. His mom wasn't a segment. His voice wasn't a product. But he stayed quiet. They brought him to a small set with lights and a camera. A woman with soft eyes held a mic. "Okay, Liam," she said. "Tell us, why did you enter Starborn?" He swallowed hard, his voice low. "To save my mom." The interviewer leaned in. "She's been sick, right?" He nodded. "She's everything to me. I didn't have much growing up. Just her. We didn't have birthdays or vacations or stuff other kids had. But she gave me songs, stories, strength. I just want her to live. That's all." The room went quiet. The cameraman gave a small nod. This was gold, for ratings, for emotion, for drama. But for Liam, it was just the truth. The woman's voice softened. "And now a twist. One of the judges turned out to be someone connected to your life. Would you like to talk about that?" Liam hesitated. His fingers curled tightly around the edge of the chair. "He says he's my father," Liam finally said. "We're doing a test to find out for sure, but even if it turns out he is, that doesn't erase what we've been through." "Is there any part of you that wants it to be true?" she asked gently. Liam looked down at his hands. "I don't know. Maybe. But I think what I really want is for someone to stay. And mean it." The interview ended. They didn't need to press further. Liam had already given them the soundbite they wanted, the pain, the hook. Afterward, Derek met him by the vending machines. "You did good," he said quietly. Liam gave him a sidelong glance. "Didn't feel good," Derek sighed. "They're going to use it. That's how TV works. But what they can't fake is what you gave them. You didn't perform. You spoke." They both sat down in the hallway, away from the noise. "You ever regret it?" Liam asked. "Leaving her?" Derek looked away, jaw tight. "Every day, especially now." Liam nodded. "I guess I spent a long time pretending I didn't care. That you didn't matter. That the hole you left was just a normal part of life. But I always wondered." "I always wondered too," Derek said. "What you'd look like. If you'd sing. If you'd hate me." Liam didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence said enough. A few minutes later, the same producer rushed back in. "Liam, big news. You've gone viral. Your audition clip's trending across every platform. You've got over 2 million views in 12 hours. Everyone's rooting for you." Liam's heart raced. He hadn't expected that. He hadn't even wanted that. But maybe, just maybe, it meant more eyes on his story, on his mom, on her fight to live. Maybe that meant more than fame. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe he could win. The night before the final showcase felt like a dream, soaked in static. Liam lay awake in the hospital room beside his mother, who had finally fallen into a deep, medicated sleep. The soft rhythm of her breathing and the hum of the machines were the only sounds in the room. Outside the window, the city glowed in golden streaks, like stars got lost and built homes in streetlights and taxi headlights. The DNA test results had come that morning. Liam had stared at the envelope in Derek's hands, his heart hammering like it was trying to break out of his chest. No matter how much he tried to play it cool, he couldn't pretend it didn't matter. He wanted it not to matter, but it did. Derek opened it slowly, eyes scanning the page. Then he looked at Liam with a strange softness, one that held both guilt and quiet joy. "It's positive," he said. "You're my son." And just like that, the air changed. Liam didn't cry. He didn't hug him. He just stared at him for a long moment, like he was trying to match the image of the man he'd imagined all his life with the man sitting in front of him. "I figured," Liam finally muttered. "I've got your eyebrows." Derek laughed, then stopped, unsure if he was allowed to. Liam didn't laugh with him, but he didn't walk away either. Now, as the minutes dragged toward dawn, Liam sat in the chair next to his mum's bed, headphones in, replaying his rehearsal recording over and over. He'd chosen a different song for the final, a new one he'd written himself. The lyrics had come pouring out of him after the hospital visit, after the test, after the cameras and the pressure and the confession. It wasn't about pain this time. It was about choice, choosing to fight, choosing to sing, choosing to stay. A knock came on the door just after sunrise. Derek stepped in with 2 coffees and a bundle of papers under his arm. "You didn't sleep," he said. "Neither did you." Derek handed him a coffee. "I'm proud of you, you know." Liam didn't look at him. "You don't have to say that just because we share DNA now. I'm saying it because I mean it. You've got more courage in you than most grown men I know." Liam sipped his coffee and sat down on the edge of the bed. His mom stirred and blinked open her eyes, her voice a soft rasp. "What time is it?" "Too early for anything but coffee," Liam said, trying to smile. She looked at the window, then at her son. "It's today, isn't it? The show?" "Yeah." She reached for his hand, weak but warm. "I wish I could be there." "You will be," Derek said suddenly from the other side of the room. They both turned to him. "I talked to the hospital, got clearance. We'll take you in a private ambulance. They'll monitor everything. You'll sit backstage with a nurse by your side. You won't miss a second." Maria looked stunned. You did that?" Derek nodded. "I said I'd fix what I could." Liam watched his mother's eyes fill with tears, and just for a second, in that quiet room with the smell of antiseptic and coffee and sadness and love, Liam realized that this was the closest they'd ever been to a real family. Broken, rebuilt, still standing. That night, the stage was bigger, the lights brighter, the stakes higher. The final showcase was live, broadcast coast to coast, streamed. Online, covered by blogs, news outlets, and influencers alike. Liam stood backstage in his new clothes, simple, black, clean, and waited for his name to be called. He wasn't nervous. He was ready. From behind the curtains, he could hear the roar of the crowd. The host hyped up the audience as the camera panned to the 3 finalists waiting their turn. "And now," the host beamed, "our final performer tonight. You know him. You've felt his voice. Please welcome Liam Parker." He stepped into the spotlight, eyes focused straight ahead. In the shadows just off stage, he could see her, his mom in a wheelchair, a nurse beside her, and Derek standing with his arms crossed, protective, quiet, present. Liam took a breath, and he began to sing. No background dancers, no flashing visuals, just him, a boy who had once been invisible, now taking up space. His voice cracked slightly on the first line, not from fear, but from everything he had held in for so long. The song was called Stay. It told a story. of a mother who stayed, of a man who left, of a boy caught in between, learning how to forgive the past without forgetting it. The chorus climbed higher than he thought his voice could go, but it didn't falter. By the time he hit the final note, the entire audience was on their feet, tears in their eyes. He didn't bow. He just smiled, because for the first time in his life he stayed too. The applause lasted longer than he expected, longer than he'd ever heard in his life. Liam stood frozen on stage, squinting into the lights, his chest rising and falling like he'd just run 10 miles. The sound washed over him like a wave, cheers, whistles, people clapping, not because they were supposed to, but because they felt something, really felt it. For a second, Liam thought he might cry, but he didn't. He just stood there, staring through the lights into the crowd, and then slowly turned his head toward the left wing of the stage. There she was, his mom, wrapped in a blanket, oxygen tube still in her nose, her hand in Derek's. Her face looked tired but bright, and her eyes, God, her eyes were full of tears. But not the kind that came from pain, the kind that came from pride. He gave her the smallest nod. She nodded back. Then the host walked out, grinning, microphone in hand, standing beside Liam. "Let's hear it again, for Liam Parker," the crowd roared. Liam gave a sheepish smile. He still wasn't used to the spotlight, but this time it didn't scare him. It didn't feel like pressure anymore. It felt like purpose. The host continued, "Well, folks, we have our votes tallied from across the country. Over 7 million people tuned in to tonight's live broadcast, and the results are in. The other 2 finalists, Jade, the powerhouse singer, and Marcus, the beatboxer, were led back onto stage. All 3 stood shoulder to shoulder under the lights, waiting. The giant screen behind them flashed between fan reactions, snippets of performances, and a big countdown timer. Liam's palms began to sweat. It wasn't nerves about losing. It was the fear of what might happen if he won. Would things really change? Would they just give him a check and shove him into interviews? Would they try to own his story? The host finally raised the card. In 3rd place, Marcus Keane. The crowd clapped. Marcus nodded respectfully and waved. He was humble, real. Liam liked him. In 2nd place, a beat of silence. Jade Rivers. Another cheer, bigger. Jade stepped forward, gave Liam a tight, supportive hug, and whispered, "Go win it. You earned it." Liam's ears rang. Was this really happening? The screen behind them exploded with color. And your starborn champion, with 62% of the national vote. The lights dimmed. A drum roll played. Liam's heart thumped like it was trying to shatter his chest. Liam Parker. The room exploded. Lights, confetti, screams, a blast of music. The host shook his hand. The judges stood. Even Derek, who was no longer just a judge but something far more complicated, clapped until his hands turned red. Liam just stood there, stunned. He was handed a trophy, a check, and a microphone all at once. People were shouting at him, cameras zooming in, producers flooding the stage. He looked out into the crowd, but all he saw was her, his mum, clapping weakly, tears streaming down her cheeks, the nurse gently wiping her face. He didn't care about the trophy or the cameras or the money. He cared about her smile. The host leaned in again. "Liam, you've gone from unknown to unforgettable. What do you want to say to the world?" He took a deep breath and held the microphone close, his voice steady. "I didn't come here to win a trophy. I came here to save my mom." The crowd quieted. "I came here with nothing but a voice, no producer, no team, just my heart and my story. And tonight, I get to walk out of here knowing she's going to get the care she needs. That I'll never have to see her choose between a meal and a medication ever again." He paused, looking at Derek. "And I came here not knowing my father. I leave here knowing I have one." Gasps rippled through the room. "Yeah, that's right. One of the judges, Derek Miles, is my biological father. We just found out last week. And instead of hiding it, and I'm telling you because real stories matter, real pain, real healing, that's what music is supposed to carry." Derek's face was stunned. The other judges looked shocked. The audience was silent. Then the applause came, loud, raw, unfiltered. Liam lowered the mic. looked around once more, then stepped off the stage, not like someone leaving a performance, but like someone walking toward a new life. He made his way straight to his mom. She opened her arms, as wide as her tired body would allow. He fell into them. Trophies would fade, checks would be spent, fame would come and go. But this moment, was forever. 3 weeks later, the stage lights were gone. No cameras. No host, no makeup crew, no producers telling him where to stand, what to wear or what to say. Just soft sunlight pouring in through the windows of their new apartment. It was small, but clean, warm, and quiet. Most importantly, it was theirs. Liam sat at the kitchen table, strumming a cheap acoustic guitar that Derek had given him. It wasn't expensive, not like the instruments in recording studios or in the arms of touring musicians, but it was his, and it sounded good in his hands, like something honest. From the living room, his mom laughed, really laughed, for the first time in what felt like years. She had just returned home from her second round of specialized treatment, courtesy of the full private sponsorship arranged through Derek and the show's post-finale publicity. She still had more healing ahead, but the shadows under her eyes were fading, replaced with color. Strength. Liam watched as she reached for a box labeled books and unpacked a few worn paperbacks she'd carried from their old apartment. She opened one and found a folded note tucked inside, his handwriting. A message he had written back when she first got sick. He didn't remember writing it, but she read it aloud anyway. "I'll sing for you, even if no one listens. I'll sing until the pain stops." She smiled and looked at him. "You didn't just stop the pain, Liam," she said. "You turned it into something beautiful." He smiled back and kept strumming. The chords weren't perfect, but neither was life, and maybe that was okay. There was a knock at the door. Liam opened it to find Derek, holding a tray with takeout burgers and 2 chocolate milkshakes. "Dinner?" Derek said with a grin. "Are you trying to bribe me into liking you?" Liam smirked, stepping aside. "Nope, I'm just trying to be a dad in whatever weird, messy way I can." Derek walked in and placed the food on the kitchen counter. His steps were still hesitant sometimes, unsure of his place, but each visit chipped away at the years of distance. He never tried to force anything. He just showed up. Every day. And that was more than Liam had ever dared to want. Maria raised an eyebrow. "You brought chocolate milkshakes? You really are trying to win him over." Derek chuckled. "I was hoping that works on both of you." They sat around the small table, the 3 of them, for the first time ever. No tension, no spotlight, just a family, patchworked together from pain and surprise, stitched slowly with music and time. After dinner, Derek pulled out a worn notebook from his bag and handed it to Liam. "What's this?" Liam asked. "A songbook," Derek replied. "It's yours now. Some songs I wrote back when I was too scared to face the world. Thought maybe you'd find something in them." Liam opened it, flipping through lyrics scribbled in messy, emotional ink. Some were half-finished, some crossed out. One of them on the last page stopped him cold, "Mistade Part 2. Underneath the title were the words, "For the boy I didn't know I had, and the mother I should have never left." DM Liam closed the book slowly. His throat tightened. Didn't say thank you. He didn't have to. His eyes said it all. The following weekend, Liam walked into a local community music center, this time not to compete, but to teach. The center had invited him to speak to kids who felt lost, unheard, unsure of their voice. And he said yes. Because he remembered what that felt like. He remembered being the boy who sang in a hoodie with holes, hoping someone would care enough to listen. And now he was the proof that someone could. He stepped into a small room where 5 kids sat nervously with guitars, notebooks, and dreams stitched into their shoes. He smiled and sat down with them. "All right," Liam said. "Who here's ever been told they won't make it?" All hands went up. He laughed. "Good. Then you're already halfway there." They laughed too. And the healing continued. Quietly, softly, powerfully. Not in screams. Not in trophies, but in songs sung honestly, and love rebuilt slowly. 1 year later, Liam stood on another stage. But this time it wasn't for a contest. It was for a benefit concert. A fundraiser for families struggling with medical debt. His face was on the poster now, not as the poor boy who sang to save his mom, but as Liam Parker, artist, advocate and son. The stadium was packed, but his eyes searched for only two people. He found them easily. Front row Maria, smiling, healthier, glowing, and Derek, proud, still showing up. Liam stepped to the microphone. He didn't need to say anything. He just sang. A new song. One about a boy who lost everything and found something better than fame. He found home.